Welcome to Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo, keeping you connected to your faith and your world. Teresa tackles the issues of faith and culture, the pro-life message, and media awareness. And now, here's Teresa Tomeo.
Well, good morning to you. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tomeo, who is still on the Wine and Shrine pilgrimage with Wine, the Women in the New Evangelization, having a beautiful time. You can follow her on social media if you would like to do that. And coming up on the show today, it's going to be a great show. It's Thursday, so that means that Father Mitch Pacwa is going to be with us, and we'll be talking about cultural connections. Today, the topic is the rapid increase, actually exponential increase, of attacks on Catholic churches in the U.S. recently. We will also talk about the Solemnity of Our Lady of Champion. That solemnity is today. Surprise, it's a pretty new feast day. And also what's happening at the Shrine's Carlo Acutis Youth Day coming up in just a few days. Well, there is so much that is happening out there, but I want to tell you about why you haven't heard from me for so long. I'm a regular guest host on Catholic Connection and really, really do enjoy it. And the reason that I haven't been here is because of some major life events that have been happening in my own life. So my husband and I celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary this summer in late July. The very next day, he had emergency surgery to repair a perforated bowel. Essentially, he had undiagnosed diverticulitis that burst, and he basically had surgery to save his life. In fact, the doctor told us that if it had been about an hour later that they had started the antibiotics and got him into surgery, he probably would not have made it. So, surprise, there was a lot happening during that time, so much care, so much that he needed. And then about 6 weeks after that, he actually had to have another fairly, I wouldn't call it emergency surgery, but a rushed surgery. He got to the point where he could barely walk, and something was wrong with his hip. And they said, yeah, you need a new hip, we'll do it later. And he said, no, something's really wrong. And they found out that he had a condition called avascular necrosis. You never want the word necrosis in a diagnosis for anything that you have, trust me. But the ball in the ball and socket joint, essentially, the blood flow had stopped. They don't know why, and that joint died. The bone had died, and so it was crumbling with every walk that he took. So they had to get him in to get that hip repaired. And, it was amazing how this all laid out. And the reason is because I had prayed for an end to my selfishness. And this is how God responded to my prayers. I'm kidding. I know that God does not work that way, but he uses those opportunities to really help us grow in virtue. I remember I was in the surgery waiting room in the hospital. It was a Sunday morning at 1 a.m., praying the rosary and just praying. And God said, you will not be able to be selfish. He will need your help every day. And I realized then that, so God didn't create this. What he did is he used the opportunity to bring me higher in virtue, to bring me closer to him, to help to get rid of those defects that I'd really been fighting for. Because, we can't, it's really hard for us to actually stop being selfish. Okay, I'm going to stop being selfish. Because you don't know what that feels like. You don't know what it looks like. How does that practice work until you're actually in it? And that's exactly what happened with me. So God used that as a blessed opportunity to help me grow in that virtue of being unselfish and being charitable. And it all started at home. Wasn't that Mother Teresa who said charity starts at home? Boy, was she right about that. Yeah, so I don't want you to feel sorry for me. That's not why I tell you about this, but I do want you to realize that God may be using something in your life today that you give him the opportunity to take you higher in virtue, and you just don't know how your prayers will be answered. And again, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. My husband has another 3 surgeries coming up, but I would use some prayers. How's that? Okay, deal. All right, and coming up on 5 minutes past the hour, it is time for news. President Trump says Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his proposed peace plan. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
The Israeli cabinet set to vote today on the peace plan President Trump advanced. Approval would trigger the pullback of Israeli forces, with hostages expected to be released on Monday, according to a senior White House official.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump described the moves as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. The president is said to be considering a trip to Egypt to participate in the next stage of negotiations. Almost 2 years to the day, the Hamas attacks on Israel sparked the war in Gaza. There's real hope for peace.
Celebrations across Israel and the Gaza Strip as word spread of a deal to free the remaining hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza, pause the fighting, and see Israel withdraw its troops to what President Trump called an agreed-upon line.
Israel and Hamas have so far only agreed to the first phase of the plan.
The rest of the peace deal is even trickier, especially the requirement for Hamas to disarm and leave power, and of course, determining a future for Gaza, now in ruins. President Trump said he may travel to the Middle East as soon as this weekend, with peace talks ongoing.
Barr reports that 48 hostages are set to be returned.
20 of those hostages are believed to still be alive and would be the first returned in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and desperately needed aid into Gaza.
President Trump is suggesting that some furloughed government workers could receive back pay while others won't. But Virginia Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw says a law passed during Trump's first term requires that those employees to be compensated for their time off the job. A memo from the Office of Management and Budget raised the possibility that federal workers may not be entitled to back pay. The president says it really depends on who you're talking about when asked about compensation for furloughed workers, and he blamed Democrats for putting their jobs in jeopardy. A measure that would have stopped military strikes on suspected drug boats is being torpedoed by Senate Republicans. Rory O'Neill reports.
The resolution offered up by Democrats failed on a party line vote Wednesday. The proposal would have stopped the U.S. military from attacking boats in the Caribbean that the Trump administration claims were smuggling drugs from Venezuela. There have been strikes against 4 boats since early September, killing more than 20 people. Colombia's president says one of the boats was from his country with Colombian citizens on board. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And in church news, today in Rome, Pope Leo XIV makes the public presentation of the first document of his pontificate, the Apostolic Exhortation de Lexi Te, which translates to I have loved you. The framework for the document was created by Pope Francis, and Pope Leo signed it on the Feast of St. Francis to honor his predecessor, which the National Catholic Register calls a deliberate display of continuity, typical for a new pontificate. In the exhortation, Pope Leo writes that the poor are not only objects of charity, but evangelists who can prompt us to conversion through their example of weakness and reliance on God. Pope Leo XIV welcomed thousands of religious sisters and brothers, monks and contemplatives, members of secular institutes, hermits, and members of new institutes from around the world today to participate in the Jubilee of Consecrated Life. During Mass, the Pope urged the thousands of religious men and women in attendance to be truly poor, meek, hungry for holiness, merciful, and pure of heart. For the consecrated person, the Pope emphasized, the Lord is everything, especially as creator and source of existence, as love that calls and challenges, as strength that urges and inspires to give. The Pope has recently come under criticism on social media for being woke after blessing a block of ice on October 1st. The occasion was to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si, the encyclical from Pope Francis that calls for care of our environment. Father Leo Paddlinghug, host of EWTN's Plating Grace, responded, reminding Catholics that everything that the Holy Father does has nothing to do with politics, and he is doing what he's supposed to do, making sure that we as stewards of God's creation. Father Leo went on to say, and while it might seem strange that he blessed a block of ice, it's not just any block of ice. It was estimated to be over 20,000 years old, which shows that creation will endure. But we can also destroy creation, and we're not supposed to do that. The United Nations is short on cash and will begin cutting its peacekeeping operations. Rory O'Neill reports.
A senior UN official confirms it will be cutting a quarter of its peacekeeping force in the months ahead. According to a report by Reuters, uncertainty about UN funding from the U.S. is the top concern. The official said the cuts would amount to over 13,000 UN troops and police being downsized. The U.S. is the largest contributor to the UN peacekeeping force and accounts for over 26% of its funding. I'm Rory O'Neill.
3 people were killed Wednesday in a series of shootings in the Houston area that authorities believe are linked to a gunman who later died by suicide. The shooting was initially believed to have been motivated by road rage, but investigators determined the gunman had been in a relationship with the victim, police said. Mark Mayfield reports.
Police say it began Wednesday afternoon in Sugar Land, where the gunman fatally shot a woman he was believed to have been in a relationship with. About a half an hour later, the suspect shot and killed a mechanic at an auto shop in southwest Houston. Police say he then killed a witness who was recording the incident on video. Officers later found the suspect dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside an SUV. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Amazon will soon be opening pharmacy kiosks at medical offices so patients can get their prescriptions right after their appointments. The online retailer announced Wednesday that the Amazon pharmacy kiosks, which will launch in December in Los Angeles, with plans for further expansion in the future. Those wanting to use the service can create an Amazon pharmacy account, schedule an appointment with a medical office that has a kiosk, and then ask their provider to send their prescription to Amazon Pharmacy. The pharmacy app will allow patients to view pricing and insurance copays. A 29-year-old man is behind bars in connection with the deadly and destructive Palisades fire in California. Mark Mayfield has the story.
Jonathan Rinderknecht, who was arrested in Florida on Tuesday, is accused of intentionally starting the Lockman fire shortly after midnight on New Year's Day. The fire was put out, but continued to smolder underground. Strong Santa Ana winds caused it to flare back up on January 7th, becoming the Palisades Fire, one of the most destructive fires in California history that left 12 people dead. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says Rinderknecht was initially interviewed by authorities on January 24th. He allegedly lied to them about where he was on the night the Lockman fire started. Rinderknecht is facing arson charges involving destruction of property. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And finally, a Hungarian novelist is this year's winner for the Nobel Prize in Literature. The Swedish Academy says author Laszlo Krasznahorkai was awarded this year for a visionary body of work that's known for his unflinching examination of the human condition. His writing style has been compared to Samuel Beckett and James Joyce. All right, I'm Sherry Brownrigg. Coming up, Father Mitch Pacwa. We are going to talk about the uptick in attacks on Catholic churches. Stay with us. Catholic Connection has more next. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tomeo, who's on pilgrimage right now. She will be on the show tomorrow, though, so that is something to look forward to. And right now it is, Thursday, so we have Father Mitch Pacwa with us. Of course, you know Father Mitch, and talking about cultural connections. So I had told you we were going to talk about the recent uptick in attacks on Catholic churches, but Father Mitch is an expert in all things Holy Land, and we've got this wonderful deal that has just come about. Hopefully it's wonderful and works between Hamas and Israel. And Father Mitch, we're going to start talking about that. And I know you have been there so many times. You are a scholar of history and know this region so well. What do you think?
Well, here's something that we have to keep in mind. This is a brand new. It was just breaking news last night that negotiators in Egypt, who were working with the Israelis and Hamas, were able to get everybody to come to a deal, and it wasn't all that easy to accomplish. Even toward the end, the folks from the Arab world, especially from Qatar and Egypt and the other Arab states, had to push Hamas to accept this deal. And the same thing was true for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, that he also was somebody who needed to be convinced. And the President Trump, that is, had to push him very hard and get on his case about this, because you're dealing with a situation where both sides have so much pain inflicted upon them by the other side.
Yeah.
And you're also dealing with two peoples for whom the idea of the teaching, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, are part of both of their scriptures. This is an ideology that is not merely acceptable, it is something biblical or Quranic. And in both, again, you just cannot underestimate the level of pain that both sides experience and the desire with religious sanction to get back at the other. So both sides needed to be pushed toward acceptance, because the present situation has become catastrophic. I think on one hand, the catastrophe is felt most strongly in Gaza. The devastation there, but you cannot underestimate not only the loss of the people killed on October 7th 2 years ago among Israelis, and these are their friends, their relatives, and it's not just from a certain region. These folks have relatives throughout the land of Israel, and it has affected the whole social structure of Israel, in that there were further attacks from Hezbollah and the Houthi especially until the attack by Iran, and then Iran also attacked them, and their economy is in a very difficult situation for everybody. This is a catastrophic event that goes back to that terrorist attack on October 7th. Now, given that level of pain for all sides, the need for outsiders to help them formulate something of a compromise. Not everybody's going to get everything they want.
Right.
But the gradual withdrawal of Israel from Gaza again, and the return of the hostages or the corpses of the hostages is, going to be part of this gradual change, and the removal of Hamas from Gaza, that they can't rule it. Those are huge changes. And again, President Trump had really set the stage in his first administration with the Abraham Accords, and then as he got back to it, the restoration of that. this is a huge deal, and both the Obama and Biden administrations had put more of their diplomatic chips, if you want to call it, use a gambling analogy, they put their diplomatic chips in Iran. And President Trump put them with the Gulf states and the other Arab countries like Egypt. And I think that his decision, long run, has ended up being more fruitful. They were able to do a lot more to help push more peace in the region than Iran was even interested in. So I think this is a huge decision, and that the possibility, there's even a possibility that President Trump will go to speak to the Knesset and be part of the welcome of the hostages back to Israel. That there's a good chance of that. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that'll be over the next few days.
Father Mitch,
I'd be surprised if that didn't happen.
Yeah, I know he said he's interested in going to the region there, and that would be absolutely wonderful. A question. So you talked about eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That's in their scripture.
Yeah.
And the emotions of past wars, past, incursions, all the different things, past just treatment of each of these peoples by each other brings up so much animosity. I have friends who are Jewish here in the States, and one of them has never even been to Israel. She's Jewish, but they felt this so incredibly deeply, and I can't imagine how it must be for people living in that region to put aside these things, let alone the scripture, but just their own emotions. How do they put aside this and come to a peace deal like this?
Well,
Good question.
They need people who are outside of the situation. It reminds me of family members who get so heated in a fight that the only thing you can do is take them apart and have other people talk to each of them. And the Israelis and Palestinians really remind me of brothers who don't like each other, but know exactly how to antagonize one another. They know exactly how to get each other upset. And they do, like some brothers are good at doing when they grow up. And just like a couple of brothers need mom and dad to call a halt to it, sometimes with reason, sometimes I don't care who started it, you're all going to get it. That was sometimes said at the Pacwa home.
Well, thank the Lord for President Trump's efforts on this, and we certainly need to pray for all those involved. This is a huge thing we can pray for today. So we will come back. Father Mitch Pacwa stays with us, and who knows what we'll talk about, but I know it will be interesting. More on Catholic Connection. Stay with us. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. It's about 28 minutes past the hour. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tamio on pilgrimage. She is someone who pilgrimages more than anyone I know, and what a blessing. And we reap the fruits of that, so she does as well, so it's wonderful. She'll be on the show tomorrow, though, so look forward to that. We continue our conversation with Father Mitch Pacwa, and we are going to shift gears just a little bit and talk about the increase in attacks on U.S. Catholic churches. Since May 2020, there have been 500. And that's an astonishing number. Father Mitch, what's happening, and why is this happening?
It's not been studied as to why. Now, it's very much like the issue of anti-Semitism. This is something that is the result of the left. The progressive left has definitely been by far the most committed to that kind of work. They definitely are doing a lot of the terrorism. There's no doubt of that. They're the same folks who are attacking, Jews. The anti-Semitism that we see on many of the college campuses. This is not from Christians. In fact, if anything, Christians have learned a little bit, hopefully a lesson they'll keep for forever, that, anti-Semitism and attacking Jewish people is plain wrong. It's a grave evil. But right now the left is pushing this, and it's connected with their pro-Palestinian mentality. This is one of the problems of so many people. They can't see that the dignity of both sides means that you have to find a way to not alienate one and hate one, but you have to find a way to reconcile both. And, we see in a lot of the left-leaning ideology a philosophical principle. I had a guest. I strongly recommend people to read his book. His name is Bobby Angel, and he wrote a book about, the postmodern world. And the philosophies are oriented towards destruction of things that exist now. And instead, and then after you destroy everything, you can rebuild a perfectly ideal society. Well, that's not what happens. When they destroy, they just leave things destroyed. So this is one thing, and then they it's not only attacks on Jews and on our government. They also have a strong hatred for the Catholic Church. So, and Christianity in general. So, for instance, the man who went to St. Matthew's Cathedral yesterday, he set up a little tent out right in front of the cathedral. Why anybody let him, I don't know. But he set this up, and he had a whole pile of bombs inside his tent. And he he said that he hated the Supreme Court, which was going to be there for the Red Mass, which is a mass for judges and lawyers. And they hold this at the beginning of the new season for the Supreme Court to be seated. He hates them. He hates Jews, and he hates Catholics. One of the great ironies to me is that they accuse their opponents of being Nazis, but that was exactly the principle underlying Nazism. The Nazis hated, especially there's a philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche who hated Christianity, even though he was born a Christian and raised one. He rejected it, and he rejected it in part because it came from Judaism, and Hitler disliked or hated Christ because he was a Jew, and Christians follow Jews. Now, he couldn't go after the Christians yet because he didn't have the power to do that, but he certainly planned to, and he did elsewhere. Well, this kind of rejection of Catholicism, especially when you add that many of these people are very much in favor of transgender and same-sex marriage and abortion and euthanasia, all of which the Catholic Church strongly opposes. These are all grave evils. And so they, they're against us on those reasons as well.
And Father Mitch, we know that essentially those are the same beliefs that Satan has, and wherever he is, there will be violence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just going to be the truth. So honestly, I look at this and I'm not surprised. It's devastating to think about all these churches and all these people who have been harmed, since this report started calculating 500 since 2020. And even before then, long before then.
Well, see, here's the stats. I'm going to give you a little background. That the stats are that in 2018 there were 50 attacks on churches, and in 2019 it was 80 some, and in 2020 it was about 80, and then 2021 it was 90.
So it's growing.
And then in 2022, it was over 400.
Wow.
So it hadn't been always there. This is one of the things we have to always be alert to, that it's easy to think, it's always been, we just didn't know so much about it. That's a common thing, but that's not always true. And we have to remember that a lot of times these things have a particular beginning and a particular end. And this is not something that we should be willing to, just say, well, it's just the way it is. No, it's not. These things change. And so one of the things we need to do is ask, what made that change? And who did that change? These changes just don't happen. They are
There's
caused.
A catalyst.
Yeah. And I think the rise of the what we saw in 2020 with the attacks, the riots after George Floyd, I think that's related. Because then after those were done, they went to other issues like attacking.
Father Mitch, we've got to hold it there. Thank you so much for being with us today. We look forward to next Thursday. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. I'm Sherry Brownrigg, in for Teresa Tamio. Thanks to Father Mitch Pacwa for an really just fascinating segment talking about this new peace deal between Hamas and Israel that just broke last night, and also about the attacks on Catholic churches. We need to pray, folks. Lots to pray for today. And Father Mitch will be back next Thursday with Cultural Connections. Right now, though, we are traveling to the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion, at least in our hearts and our minds. Today is the Solemnity of Our Lady of Champion, and it's a fairly new feast day. And we have with us Paul Brissette. He's the Director of Communications at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. This is the first and only approved Marian apparition site in the U.S. And Paul, it is just wonderful to have you here on the show with us. Welcome.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here, especially on the Solemnity of Our Lady of Champion. How exciting that is.
I know. I'm so glad that worked out. And I have to tell you that I lived in Green Bay for a while before the shrine was actually declared a shrine. And so I was there back in the early days when it was really small, kind of undeveloped, just a little church. And it was the most beautiful place that I had ever been to. I mean, I felt just the Lord there so strongly. and came back after it had been named a national shrine. And of course, many different things have been developed because so many people were coming to visit that it had to be. I mean, you couldn't even fit the people in the parking lot that were there, the parking lot that was there when I was there many, many years ago before it was declared. But what an incredible thing. So tell us a little bit about the shrine itself, if our listeners have not heard of it and don't know about it.
Yeah, of course. So the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion is in Champion, Wisconsin, about 30 minutes outside of Green Bay. And it's the site where Mother Mary appeared to Adele Bryce in 1859 and gave her the message to go forward and fear nothing, for Our Lady would help her catechize the youth of this area, of this wild country. And so today we celebrate the anniversary of that apparition on October 9th. And what makes the story even more, although it's already special, but what makes it even more special is about 12 years later to the day, the Great Peshtigo Fire happened, and the fire ravished through Wisconsin, burning millions of acres. And the people in this area, instead of running to escape or fleeing, they instead came to the shrine as pilgrims, and they processed with Adele Bryce and holding a statue of Mary around the shrine grounds, holding a statue of Our Lady and praying the rosary. Well, that fire that burnt millions of acres stopped right at the fence of the shrine, burning half of the fence and leaving the inside of the fence completely unharmed. And so this miracle of the fire, which we celebrated last night with a candlelit rosary procession, is just such a special way to know that Our Lady protects this shrine spot. And then, of course, we're celebrating the 15th year anniversary of Bishop Ricken approving the apparition here. And then since then, we have 3 years of it being a solemnity here at the grounds of the shrine. So today we get to be lucky enough to celebrate the solemnity of Our Lady of Champion and remembering that apparition that happened in 1859, 166 years ago in Wisconsin.
Oh, so amazing. So it was actually named a solemnity 3 years ago. Is that correct? In 2022?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Wow, that's just absolutely amazing. So this is a really important day for the shrine, of course. What events are you hosting there?
Well, we're lucky enough to have Bishop David Ricken is coming to celebrate Mass at 11 o'clock. We expect a few thousand people, a few thousand pilgrims to come and celebrate this feast with us at 11 a.m., as well as we have special anointing of the sick and a healing service, as well as many opportunities to do rosaries, including our rosary procession, which will follow the Mass, and we will be walking the grounds around the fence in which the fire stopped. It's really just a special and peaceful, and you feel something inside you so strong when you're walking that path that the pilgrims walked themselves. So full day of events here at the shrine with tons of people to come and to celebrate Our Lady.
Well, for those of you listening who are not in the region, you're going to be missing this, but you can get it next year because I'm sure that it's going to be happening next year. And John Paul, it's interesting.
Live.
Oh, okay.
They can watch the Mass actually live on our YouTube channel at Champion Shrine, so they can watch the whole live stream of the Mass today at 11 a.m.
Beautiful.
Central Time.
Beautiful. Okay, on the YouTube channel for the National Shrine there. So, John Paul, it's interesting. When I was there both times, I did not walk around the fence. I didn't know that the fence was where the fire stopped. How far away is that actually from the church?
So it's right behind the church. So if you're at the church, and then right behind it, it was about 5 acres, which was consecrated to Mary, that didn't burn. And one of the priests that wrote the account, Father Pernin, described what the scene looked like was that the shrine was an emerald isle in a sea of ash because of all the green the shrine still had when everything else around it was completely turned to ash.
So few people really know about that fire and about that miracle that occurred, and it is just, it gives you those God bumps when you think about about just that beautiful way that the Lord works through his mother. And oh my goodness, so incredibly wonderful. So you also have another event coming up. You've got for October 18th, it is St. Carlo Acutis Youth Day. What is that about?
Oh my gosh, we are so lucky to have our Youth Day every year.
I can tell you love your job, John Paul.
Students. There's no better. I get to work for my mother. It's a beautiful job. I get to. But our Carlo
so tell us
Acutis
about
Youth
all the
Day,
events.
of course, it's our first time that we get to call it St. Carlo Acutis Youth Day. So that's even more exciting. It's been Blessed Carlo in the past. 600 high school students are coming to the shrine. We have speakers coming in and all kinds of events and talk about those God bumps and those goosebump moments. We've been praying to acquire a St. Carlo Acutis relic at the shrine specifically for this event to give the kids the opportunity to venerate Carlo. And everyone was really hoping that somehow we could get our hands on a Carlo Acutis relic for this event. Just 2 days ago, a priest walked in from Texas. And he said he didn't know why, but he felt really called. He heard about the Carlo Acutis Youth Day, and he had a St. Carlo Acutis relic, and he thought that it should be at the shrine. And we're like, Our Lady finds a way to get us what we need. And Carlo, of course, loved Marian apparitions, so it's even fitting to have Carlo here at the shrine now.
That is absolutely fantastic. How long have you had this? It was Blessed Carlo Acutis Youth Day. How long have you had that happening at the shrine?
Yeah, so we're going on our 4th year of Carlo Acutis Youth Day, and it's slowly grown and grown. So we have kids coming from out of state, not just in the Diocese of Green Bay and diocese across Wisconsin, and they come. Mary Pablo is going to be the keynote speaker, and we have a wonderful vocation panel. And as top on all of that, the students get to experience where Our Lady appeared and get to just take in the beautiful shrine grounds and maybe hear about Our Lady of Champion for the first time or Carlo Acutis for the first time and really be inspired by this young saint and how this young saint did so much at the same age that they are.
It is really going to be amazing with St. Carlo Acutis, how he is going to be witnessing to millions of youth around the world. I mean, he's just, the fact that he has been named a saint is a huge thing for our church. It's absolutely amazing. So I hope if you're listening right now and you've got teenagers or maybe you're a teacher or school involved with your school, ask them to find out. I mean, the registration date is coming up soon. They have to register by tomorrow, right?
Yes, they can register today at our website at championshrine.org. We have a St. Carlo Acutis Youth Day page. But yeah, they could register up until tomorrow.
So do that. It's championshrine.org.
Championshrine.org.
Okay, I'm writing that down. championshrine.org. Okay, in the time that we have left, we may get back to Our Lady of Champion because, we always love to talk about Mary. But I want to talk about you just for a minute because you are kind of a special thing too. And the fact that you are there, the Director of Communications at the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion, is really kind of a miraculous thing as well. First of all, you're 23, is that correct?
Yeah, 24. I turned 24 last week.
Okay,
so
well, happy birthday.
I take pride in that.
But tell us how you came to be this Director of Communications for the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion.
It was truly divine providence, and I'm like you said, I love my job, and I'm so happy to be here. But my story with Our Lady of Champion starts when I met my wife at college, and she happened to be from Peshtigo, where the fire started that ravished the shrine. And she was always telling me about this before we even started dating. And then coincidentally, our anniversary became the anniversary of the apparition. So we started dating 3 years ago today. So Our Lady of Champion always had a special place in our hearts. So when it was time for me to propose to her, I proposed to her at the apparition oratory at the shrine, right on the shrine grounds. And then months later, while it was time for me to move to Wisconsin from my home of Providence, Rhode Island, and be with her in Wisconsin, it was brought to my attention that the Shrine was hiring a communications director. And I had just spent the last 5 years as a social media influencer with 5 million social media followers and creating
5
Catholic
million?
content. Yes, 5 million across platforms.
That's
And
amazing.
then on top of that, I was working with the Dominicans and Father Simon Teller, and we had just had 100 million views on Catholic content, on making Catholic reels on social media. And it was the most perfect opportunity. And I said during my interview, I said, no matter what happens here, Our Lady of Champion has a very special place in my heart. I got engaged here at the Shrine. My anniversary is the anniversary of the apparition, and it just all lined up perfectly. And now I've been at the Shrine for a little over 4 months as the communications director. I'm now married to my wife, and we just got back from Rome. We did the Sposio Novelli with Pope Leo, and we presented him an icon of Our Lady of Champion and got to talk to him a little. So it's been a full circle moment.
Full circle does not even describe it, does it? I mean, it's a miraculous full circle. I love the fact that you had taken your faith and really used the modern means of communication to evangelize, and now the Shrine, Our Lady, gets to, if you will, harness that. You know, you're going to be able to make the Shrine a household name, and also that devotion to Our Lady as Our Lady of Champion. What a beautiful gift that you are, John Paul, and that you are giving our church. Thank you for that.
I'm just happy to be working for Our Lady and doing whatever she needs for us. So that's all. That's all I get.
I can tell, and that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Oh, it's so
Yes,
wonderful.
of course.
Now, I have to ask you, what was it like talking to a pope and having him respond in English?
Oh my gosh, it was. We started waiting at 4 a.m. So we waited in line from 4 a.m. to get into St. Peter's Square. And then when it was raining too, so my wife was in her wedding dress and pouring rain. And then there was just that moment where Pope Leo shook my hand, and I kissed his ring. And he said, "Go Pack Go," because the couple next to us was also from Green Bay. And he was like, well, unless when they're playing the Bears.
Oh,
And
that's so
just
funny.
to imagine a Pope saying, "Go Pack Go," was
Yeah.
never something
Oh.
I could imagine.
John Paul, that's a great place to end it on. Thank you so much for being with us today, and many blessings to you. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tomeo. Teresa will be back tomorrow. I hope you just got to hear the interview that we had with John Paul Brissette, who is the Director of Communications for Our Lady of Champion, the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. What a true warrior for the faith he is at 24 years old. What a real blessing. Today, of course, is the Solemnity of Our Lady of Champion, and you can find out more about that at championshrine.org. So coming up tonight on The World Over with Raymond Arroyo, it's at 8 Eastern on EWTN Radio and TV. Robert Royal and Father Gerald Murray on the new and first apostolic exhortation by Pope Leo XIV. Also Devin Franklin, one of the stars of the inspiring new movie Soul on Fire, a true story based on the life and experience of John O'Leary, and that comes up on The World Over tonight at 8 Eastern, right here on EWTN Radio. And don't forget, we've got another hour of the show. We do. It's on EWTN Radio Extra, and today we'll be talking with Mary McClernon about praying the rosary with others. We might pray it by ourselves a lot, but she'll help us to know the best way to pray that rosary with others. And we also will be talking with Chris McCarthy, outreach manager at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And the topic, Adoration, Sodality. Yes, that is the theme for this month, October, and so exciting. I don't know about you, but the Eucharist, my goodness, where would we be without him? So there's a lot more to come on Catholic Connection. Hope you can join us on EWTN Radio Extra. Have a blessed day.
Welcome to Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo, keeping you connected to your faith and your world. Teresa tackles the issues of faith and culture, the pro-life message, and media awareness. And now, here's Teresa Tomeo.
Well, not Teresa Tomeo today, but Sherry Brownrigg filling in for Teresa, who is on pilgrimage. She's in, where else? Italy, on the Wine and Shrine pilgrimage with Kelly Walquist of Wine, the Women in the New Evangelization. And if you're on the socials, well, you can find Teresa and kind of follow along with the pilgrims. Boy, it looks like it's just a wonderful pilgrimage. They always are, great pictures and wonderful things happening and such fruit. So pray for Teresa when she is on those pilgrimages. She will be back tomorrow, by the way, broadcasting from Italy, and it's always fun to hear what she's up to. So today on the show, on hour 2 of Catholic Connection, Mary McClernon is with us. And we'll be talking about praying the rosary with others. Such a blessing to pray the rosary every day. We all know that praying the rosary is a big deal. I mean, it is one of our number one weapons against Satan. So I hope you pray the rosary every day. Praying with others sometimes can be a challenge. Sometimes it's wonderful, but Mary will help us to navigate that. We'll also talk with Chris McCarthy, the outreach manager at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And the topic is October's Adoration, Sodality. And I am really excited to talk with Chris as well. In my own parish where I live, I'm on the liturgy board, and we are having I will call it a discussion right now of increasing reverence for Jesus in the Eucharist during Mass, before Mass, after Mass. And you know what it's like. We're here in America, and we've been sort of baked in this hospitality ethos, that's really the most important thing. And hospitality, don't get me wrong, is important, but it has its place. And we just have to figure out, I know at my own church, we have to figure out where hospitality is appropriate and where reverence for Jesus and helping people to believe in the real presence is the number one thing to really focus on. And you could probably guess what what I am lobbying for, and that, of course, is increased reverence for Christ. And honestly, the church teaching has never changed on this, even through Vatican II. And the practice has changed, and that's sort of where the baked in the kind of thinking of, well, we've got to be hospitable. And so allowing talking, for example, in the church, while Jesus is truly present there in the Eucharist. The Church has never changed her teaching on the fact that is to be a silent place of reverence. But we here in America, and likely around the world, I'm not sure how much it's happening in other countries, but, we see it as an opportunity to, hey, hi, friend, I haven't seen you since last Sunday. It's great to see you. What's happening? We talk about the sports game coming up that day, or what's the latest news from your house, and that's not the appropriate place to really do that. So we're navigating that at my parish, and I'm talking to my pastor next week on Thursday. So say some prayers for me if you would, because I know he is a very devout, wonderful pastor, and the hope is that, of course, we will be able to do more reverence for that. But we're going to be talking with Chris about adoration and Jesus truly present in the Blessed Sacrament, so I look forward to that. We have a couple of feast days to celebrate today. One is a solemnity. Did you know that? It's Our Lady of Champion. We had great fun talking about that last hour with John Paul Brissette, who's the Director of Communications from the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion in near Green Bay, Wisconsin. And the solemnity was proclaimed 3 years ago, so it's new. You often don't even see it on some of the church calendars, but today is that solemnity. So they've got great things happening there that you can watch actually on their YouTube channel and get to that through championshrine.org. It's also the feast day of Saint Denis, of who we call here in America Saint Denis, but the French call him Saint Denis, and he is the patron saint of Paris and France. And just an amazing story. So a martyr, he was a bishop and a martyr, and legend has it, this is the story, that he picked up his head. He was beheaded. He picked up his head and went 2 miles to the place that he would prefer to be buried, which is now Saint Denis in Paris while he was preaching a sermon of repentance. I love our faith. I love these stories. Anyway, so it's his feast day as well, and whether you pronounce it Saint Denis or Saint Denis, we can all ask for his intercession. And it's 5 minutes past the hour, and time for news. President Trump says Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his proposed peace plan. NBC's Alice Barr has more.
The Israeli cabinet set to vote today on the peace plan President Trump advanced. Approval would trigger the pullback of Israeli forces, with hostages expected to be released on Monday, according to a senior White House official.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump described the moves as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. The president is said to be considering a trip to Egypt to participate in the next stage of negotiations. Almost 2 years to the day the Hamas attacks on Israel sparked the war in Gaza, there's real hope for peace.
Celebrations across Israel and the Gaza Strip as word spread of a deal to free the remaining hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza, pause the fighting and see Israel withdraw its troops to what President Trump called an agreed-upon line.
Israel and Hamas have so far only agreed to the first phase of the plan.
The rest of the peace deal is even trickier, especially the requirement for Hamas to disarm and leave power, and of course, determining a future for Gaza, now in ruins. President Trump said he may travel to the Middle East as soon as this weekend, with peace talks ongoing.
Barr reports that 48 hostages are set to be returned.
20 of those hostages are believed to still be alive and would be the first returned in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and desperately needed aid into Gaza.
President Trump is suggesting that some furloughed government workers could receive back pay while others won't. But Virginia Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw says a law passed during Trump's first term requires that those employees be compensated for their time off the job. A memo from the Office of Management and Budget raised the possibility that federal workers may not be entitled to back pay. The president says it really depends on who you're talking about when asked about compensation for furloughed workers, and he blamed Democrats for putting their jobs in jeopardy. A measure that would have stopped military strikes on suspected drug boats is being torpedoed by Senate Republicans. Roy O'Neill reports.
The resolution offered up by Democrats failed on a party line vote Wednesday. The proposal would have stopped the U.S. military from attacking boats in the Caribbean that the Trump administration claims were smuggling drugs from Venezuela. There have been strikes against 4 boats since early September, killing more than 20 people. Colombia's president says one of the boats was from his country with Colombian citizens on board. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And in church news, today in Rome, Pope Leo XIV makes the public presentation of the first document of his pontificate, the Apostolic Exhortation Dilexi Te, which translates to I have loved you. The framework for the document was created by Pope Francis, and Pope Leo signed it on the feast of St. Francis to honor his predecessor, which the National Catholic Register calls a deliberate display of continuity, typical for a new pontificate. In the exhortation, Pope Leo writes that the poor are not only objects of charity, but evangelists who can prompt us to conversion through the example of weakness and reliance on God. Pope Leo XIV welcomed thousands of religious sisters and brothers, monks, contemplatives, members of secular institutes, hermits, and members of new institutes from around the world today to participate in the Jubilee of Consecrated Life. During Mass, the Pope urged the thousands of religious men and women in attendance to be truly poor, meek, hungry for holiness, merciful, and pure of heart. For the consecrated person, the Pope emphasized the Lord is everything, especially as creator and source of existence, as love that calls and challenges, as strength that urges and inspires to give. The Pope has come under criticism on social media lately for being woke after blessing a block of ice on October 1st. The occasion was to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si', the encyclical from Pope Francis that calls for care of our environment. Father Leo Paddling Hug, host of EWTN's Plating Grace, responded, reminding Catholics that everything that the Holy Father does has nothing to do with politics, and he is doing what he's supposed to do, making sure that we are stewards of God's creation. Father Leo went on to say, and while it might seem strange that he blessed a block of ice, it's not just any block of ice. It was estimated to be over 20,000 years old, which shows that creation will endure. But we can also destroy creation, and we're not supposed to do that. The United Nations is short on cash and will begin cutting its peacekeeping operations. Rory O'Neill reports.
A senior UN official confirms it will be cutting a quarter of its peacekeeping force in the months ahead. According to a report by Reuters, uncertainty about UN funding from the U.S. is the top concern. The official said the cuts would amount to over 13,000 UN troops and police being downsized. The U.S. is the largest contributor to the UN peacekeeping force and accounts for over 26% of its funding. I'm Rory O'Neill.
3 people were killed Wednesday in a series of shootings in the Houston area that authorities believe are linked to a gunman who later died by suicide. The shooting was initially believed to have been motivated by road rage, but investigators determined the gunman had been in a relationship with the victim, police said. Mark Mayfield reports.
Police say it began Wednesday afternoon in Sugar Land, where the gunman fatally shot a woman he was believed to have been in a relationship with. About a half an hour later, the suspect shot and killed a mechanic at an auto shop in southwest Houston. Police say he then killed a witness who was recording the incident on video. Officers later found the suspect dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound inside an SUV. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Amazon will soon be opening pharmacy kiosks at medical offices so patients can get their prescriptions right after their appointments. The online retailer announced Wednesday that the Amazon pharmacy kiosk, which will launch in December in the LA area and expand further in the future, those wanting to use the service can create an Amazon pharmacy account, schedule an appointment with a medical office that has a kiosk, and then ask their provider to send their prescription to Amazon Pharmacy. A 29-year-old man is behind bars in connection with the deadly and destructive Palisades fire in California. Mark Mayfield has the story.
Jonathan Rinderknecht, who was arrested in Florida on Tuesday, is accused of intentionally starting the Lockman fire shortly after midnight on New Year's Day. The fire was put out, but continued to smolder underground. Strong Santa Ana winds caused it to flare back up on January 7th, becoming the Palisades Fire, one of the most destructive fires in California history that left 12 people dead. U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says Rinderknecht was initially interviewed by authorities on January 24th. He allegedly lied to them about where he was on the night the Lockman fire started. Rinderknecht is facing arson charges involving destruction of property. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Thanks to Mark Mayfield. And honestly, there's so much to pray for, isn't there? That was such a destructive fire. So many things happening today, but we are going to be talking about prayer for this hour. And we come back with Mary McClernon and the topic, Praying the Rosary with the Saints. So we are so looking forward to that. Join us because there is a lot more to come on Catholic Connection. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tomeo, who will be back on the air with you tomorrow to celebrate Friday. So we're all looking forward to that. And we have with us right now Mary McClernon, and she is from Summa Enterprises, and we're going to be talking about praying the Rosary with the Saints. And I originally had talked about praying with others, but I guess praying with the saints is praying with others, isn't it? Yes. And I'm excited to hear about this. So, Mary, first of all, welcome to Catholic Connection.
Thank you, Sherry.
It's really great to have you here. And you are going to be on EWTN later. Can you tell us just a little bit about that appearance as well?
Jonette Bankovich got in touch with me and asked me to come and be interviewed on television. And I guess that's going to air later on this month, the month of the Rosary, October.
It's a special month for you, isn't it?
Yes, it really is.
Yeah. Well, the name of your business is Summa Enterprises, and I know that you and your late husband started it. Let's begin there. What really drove the two of you to start this organization?
I believe it was when we became Dominicans back in 1998 or so. We started to delve into the saints and study them as Dominicans do. The Dominican order is known as the Order of Preachers, and I certainly see that in my husband's work. He collected quotes of the saints, and with his love and our love of the Rosary, he categorized those quotes into chapters, which became a book, of virtues of the Rosary. So in the first joyful mystery, it's the Annunciation, and we meditate on the virtue of humility. And what he did was he took, for instance, Saint Thérèse of Lisieux, her quotes about humility, and put them into one chapter. And then he had a series of these books that were published. From there, we took 200 of the quotes from one of the books and put it into an audio rosary form where you're praying the rosary as in the scriptural rosaries. And before each Hail Mary, instead of a scripture, there's a quote of one saint. So we have the title, Praying the Rosary with Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. And as you listen, you're praying along with the saint. You know, I saw the movie on Saint Thérèse. I loved it. Oh. The movie that talks about her life and shows you her life. But at the end of it, I was thinking, but it's missing her spirituality. She has so much wisdom to offer us. And with the Rosary, I find that as you pray the Rosary, you're praying the prayers of Our Lady, of our Mother, and it brings you into a safe place where Jesus can work on the heart. And with these quotes of the saints, there's so much wisdom in there. Jesus can mold and shape our hearts and lead us through the Rosary in that way.
Mary, you talk so beautifully about this, and, you know, it's really opened my heart to remembering that the saints are our friends who precede us in this journey that we have on earth. And we know they're in heaven. They've been declared saints, and so they are friends to help us. And what better way to really pray with them? You get this understanding that as you read this quote from the saint, that they are actually praying with you.
Yes. Yes.
And what a wonderful thing. How did that change your own personal practice of praying the Rosary? How did it enhance it?
Well, like you said, they become your friends more and more as you listen to them and their way that they lived in this life, leading them to heaven. And they are in heaven now. They are the Church triumphant, and they are concerned with us. They do want to be our friends, and they do want to offer us wisdom so that we can follow the path that leads to Jesus. And just as Mary always just turns us to Jesus and leads us to Jesus, the saints do that as well. Their quotes are just beautiful, beautiful, full of wisdom. I find that when I pray, I've heard these over and over, these audio rosaries, and there's inevitably something that sticks out to me, something that the Lord wants me to meditate on, to help me in my spiritual life. And I have grown closer and closer to the saints. You know, I identify with the ones that are similar to me in certain ways. Some of the problems that they had, they give me spiritual direction, in fact, in some areas of my life, in praying with them.
That's beautiful. Well, who are some of the saints that are quoted, and can you share some of your favorite quotes?
I can tell you what who the saints are. We have praying the rosary with Therese of Lisieux, the Little Way. She speaks so tenderly, so simply, and yet she's a doctor of the Church. We have Saint Padre Pio. Saint Padre Pio, he is long-suffering, and down here he read souls, and I know up there in the Church Triumphant he's reading souls as well, and able to speak to us in the words that we need to hear, the wisdom and advice we need to hear. Pope John Paul II, when I listen to Pope John Paul II, I miss him terribly.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Our Lady of Medjugorje, and I have been told by others who have listened to her, she is such a tender mother, and the wisdom of the quotes, the meditations of Our Lady of Medjugorje, just bring that whole concept of we are her children. She's always saying, my little children, I love you. Look to Jesus. And her messages are so deep, actually, in that recording. Our Lady of, not Our Lady, but Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa is, I believe, a saint of this day and age. When she speaks to us, we can hear words of wisdom for our age. It's just beautiful, her quotes. Saint Catherine of Siena, who is a Dominican saint. My husband, he said to me, Mary, I have another love in my life, but I know you won't mind this love that I have. It's
Mary,
Catherine of Siena. I didn't mind at all. It made him a better husband and a better father for our 5 children.
Oh, that's really wonderful. And you started with Therese of Lisieux, it looks like. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Why was she the first saint that captivated you and spurred you into this?
Well, when my husband prayed about which saint to start with, he asked for a sign, and he got roses. She sent roses, and so we started with her. We also have Saint Faustina, Maria Faustina. Saint Maria Faustina, on that audio rosary, there's also the quotes of Jesus, the ones that he shared with Faustina, and then she recorded from her diary. And those are just beautiful. They take you into the divine mercy.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
In fact, that prayer is on the end of that audio tape. And then the other one is St. Francis of Assisi.
Yeah,
our beloved St. Francis.
And you can find all of these at summaenterprises.com and order them and download them. And what a wonderful way to pray the rosary with the wisdom of the saints. Mary McClernon of Summa Enterprises, thank you so much for being with us today on Catholic Connection. Yes. It has been a true joy. Again, the website summaenterprises.com. Now, we've got more on Catholic Connection. We are going to talk about adoration. So I hope you can stay with us. Many blessings. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tanya, who is on pilgrimage. And she'll be back tomorrow, so looking forward to that. She'll be coming to you from Italy, so always fun to know that she's there and still can host Catholic Connection. We love that. We have with us right now Chris McCarthy, and Chris is the outreach manager at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament, and we are going to talk about October's Adoration Sodality. So Chris, first of all, welcome to Catholic Connection. It is so great to have you on and talk about our Lord Jesus Christ truly present in the Eucharist with you.
Absolutely, Peggy. Well, thanks so much for having me. It's always a great honor.
Well, the honor is ours, and I started the show this hour anyway, talking about what I called a discussion in my parish, which it really is. It's very, very cordial and people really talking about beliefs and examining documents and scripture and all sorts of different things, but about increased reverence for Jesus in the Eucharist in my parish. I serve on the liturgy board, and we have, about maybe 5 years ago, I would say, we moved Jesus in the Eucharist, the tabernacle, to the sanctuary. It was on a side chapel before, which is pretty common in many churches here in the U.S.
Yes.
And, initially we did a really good job with reverence. And then we kind of went back to our old practices of being kind of cordial, talking after Mass, not necessarily silence as part of that, and really understanding that Jesus is truly present in the Eucharist. And I have brought up that we need to go back to where we were before, when Jesus first came into the tabernacle. The tabernacle was placed in the sanctuary in our parish. And it's been a really blessed, wonderful time. And it's caused, I think, everyone on our board to really examine, what do we believe? And is hospitality more important than Jesus in the Eucharist? And my position, as you might guess, Chris, is no.
Yes.
I know, as outreach manager of the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament, that's probably the side that you fall on as well.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. And, whatever I do or whatever we do here at the Shrine, it's on behalf of the Poor Clare nuns, which in their mission is, to quote it, they shall seek ways of promoting Eucharistic devotion among the faithful. That's their mission.
Yeah.
And whatever I do or we do always has to come back to that. And, and first and foremost, like you just mentioned, it's not a symbol. To me, the Eucharist is not a symbol. It's not a metaphor. It's not any of those things. It's the real presence of Jesus Christ. And like anything else, he has to be front and center, and for folks to see him. And what we do is to make sure that the perpetual adoration leads to more focus on Jesus and Jesus present in the Eucharist.
Yeah.
And so
Chris,
that's.
I was just going to say, it's so important that we continue to do that. When I think the current figure is 70% of Catholics who go to church don't really understand that is truly present, that Christ is truly present in the Eucharist, and that's a tragedy. Oh,
that's a real shame. It is, because that's the center of the church. That's it. Everything comes from that. Jesus in the Eucharist, his body and blood, his divinity, his soul are in there, and it's if folks don't realize that, they're missing so much. So much of Catholicism. If they can't move past that point, and realize
honestly, it seems like if you don't truly believe in the Eucharist, then it would simply be a religion of rules, and we wonder why. And again, I'm quoting some other facts here. I think it's for every 100 people who join the church, 800 leave, and we have to believe that if those 800 really believed that Christ was truly present in the Eucharist, you could not leave. You couldn't.
No, you couldn't. You hit it right in the head, Peggy. The Eucharist is what binds us together, and I couldn't imagine not partaking of the body and blood of Christ every week. That's why I'm a Catholic. That's why I'll continue to be a Catholic, and that's why I'll be an advocate for Catholicism, because it's something you don't get anywhere else. It's a gift. It's such a gift from Jesus.
It truly
to have
is.
That. It really is, and we have to take advantage of that. There's so many gifts that He's bestowing on us, but obviously that's definitely the biggest one. That He's there with us. It's not a symbol. He's right there with us.
He's truly there. Yeah,
he is.
And so at the shrine, there's a wonderfully active adoration sodality. What is that? What does it mean to be in an adoration sodality?
Well, basically, that's a big part of what I mentioned before of the nuns primary mission of promoting the Eucharist. That about 2.5 years ago, the Adoration Sodality was established, and basically what it is in a nutshell, it's a prayer group for laity, priests, religious brothers and sisters to join in spiritually in the nuns' mission of adoring the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. At this point right now, the Sodality has members in all 50 states and 30 countries, and we're growing. It's members, if you decide to join, members commit themselves to an hour of Eucharistic adoration on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis for the hidden Eucharistic Jesus, and that's in any monstrance or tabernacle in the world. Folks don't have to come to the shrine to do their adoration, and you don't have to do an additional hour or hours of adoration in addition to what you're already performing. We want to stress that. And it's really a strength in numbers. It's if everyone can come together and worship Jesus in the tabernacle, the real presence of Jesus, the power of prayer. Prayer is such a powerful thing. We see that every day, and if we can get the whole purpose of the society is just to get strength in numbers, to share with the nuns in praying for the reparative thanksgiving, and that's the basis of it. And obviously, folks don't have to come here, but we just want to take everyone's adoration, put it into a central being, if you would, and offer that up to the Lord. And that's basically it.
Now, you can go to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. That's always a wonderful thing to do. But honestly, yes, we all need to adore wherever we are. It's the same Jesus. And if you want to sign up for this, we've got more with Chris in just a moment, but you can go to olamshrine.com. And let's see here, you'll find the /adoration, and you can actually find all of that information just by going to olamshrine.com. I'm sure, Chris, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Chris McCarthy, he's the outreach manager for the Shrine, and we've got more talking about Jesus truly present in the Eucharist and adoration next. Stay with The Connection. Welcome back to Catholic Connection. I'm Sherry Brownrigg, in for Teresa Tomeo, who returns tomorrow for a day. And we're talking with Chris McCarthy, who is outreach manager of the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament, and talking about October's Adoration, Sodality, Jesus truly present in the Eucharist. It's a grace-filled conversation. And I guess, Chris, the old saying, well, it's not the old saying, it's Scripture. It's wherever two or more are gathered in my name, then I will be there. And he certainly is here with us in spirit, but truly present in the Eucharist. And that's what we want to talk about. And Chris gave me a better website that I can pass along to you. The one I gave before will get you there, but you can go to, you'll not forget this one because it is the best URL ever, iadorethee.com. iadorethee.com. That'll take you to the Adoration, Sodality, all the information there, and how to sign up and be a part of it. And Chris, I would imagine that a whole shrine that is dedicated to the Blessed Sacrament probably has a lot of activities that are surrounding that. Can you talk about what happens there at the shrine in terms of adoration?
Basically, in addition to the Eucharistic adoration, we have.
Is that 24/7?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that's 24/7, and one of our PCPA nuns is always there, so it's exposed 24/7. One of the nuns is always doing her adoration in front of it. So that's a very powerful and a very special thing. That's unceasing prayer, and that's a beautiful thing. We also have the John Paul II Eucharistic Center. Folks can visit. That's kind of an interactive presentation on the Old and New Testaments, and winding up with kind of a thing on the Eucharistic miracles, the Eucharistic saints. We just opened the I was going to say blessed, but it's a Saint Carlo Acutis exhibit of Eucharistic miracles from around the world, and we worked hard to put that together. And by the grace of God, we just were able to open it on the day of his canonization. I'm sure that was not a coincidence.
I'm sure it wasn't.
So folks can visit that, and we're on 400 acres. So there's a lot of room to walk around. We have the Lord's Grotto. Folks can visit. We have a nativity creche. But again, the most important thing is it's a place of prayer. It's a place of solitude to spend a few moments, minutes, hours, or days in front of the Holy Eucharist in the presence of Jesus Christ. That's the biggest thing, and that's the message we want to put out. Just leave your troubles and cares at the gate, and just come on and just leave it all with Jesus. That's our main focus. That's our main mission for folks.
And the whole physical plant there at the shrine really prepares you spiritually for that. I mean, the grounds are gorgeous, and the church, my goodness, if you have never been inside the church there at the shrine, you really have got to go, because it just speaks to the glory of God, and it is a place befitting the King. It's just incredible.
It is incredible. That's not a stretch, Peggy. It's not a stretch at all.
Not a stretch at all.
I still get that. I've been here for a while. Every time I go in there, I still get the same impression. I've had folks tell me that, they've never experienced a more intimate presence of God when they walk into the upper church's doors. And it's true. The minute you walk in, you feel the presence of Jesus Christ. It's a special place. That's the reason folks come from not all over the state, all over the country to come here. Some folks even move here. Once they visit the shrine, they just want to be close to it. It's that special of a place, and we're welcome to and it's not just for Catholics. It's for people of all faiths, just to come and spend some spiritual solitude, and. But again, it all comes back to the Eucharistic adoration, like Pope Saint Pius X said. The shortest and surest way to heaven is the Holy Eucharist. Saint Alphonsus Liguori, Eucharistic adoration is the greatest of all devotions after the sacrament themselves. And Saint Peter Julian Amart. Eucharistic adoration is the most necessary mission to the church. So, it's not an option; it's necessary. I think that said it all. And my favorite right now is from Saint Carlo Acutis. He called Eucharistic adoration his highway to heaven. I thought that was such a beautiful quote, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, I mean, we need to spend time with Jesus. It's not enough for us just to go to Mass on Sundays, to pray a little every day. We need to spend that one-on-one time with Jesus and, just open our hearts to Him, listen, not filling it with, it's good to pray. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but it's also good to just meditate, open your heart and listen. And when you sign on to something like a Sodality, you're making a bit of a commitment. And I love that, because that's something that I think is in short supply in this day and age. But Chris, what is it if somebody signs up to be a part of this Sodality for adoration, what are they actually committing to?
Basically, they're committing to either on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis to spend an hour of Eucharistic adoration in front of any monstrance or tabernacle in the world. The only obligation is to say the I adore thee prayer. at some point during that hour, and that's it. And membership also brings you for folks who can make it. Not everyone can. We have on the third Thursday of every month a day of recollection, which a guest priest or Monsignor gives a talk in the Eucharist in the morning, and then he presides over a Eucharistic healing service in the afternoon. And the great thing, my favorite thing about the Eucharistic healing service is you get to hear the Poor Clare nuns sing. And if that doesn't get you, you have to hear it to believe it, how beautiful they sound. It's incredible. I've seen people reduce to tears because of how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
So that's always something to look forward to. And then, again, you don't have to be a member to go, but it also includes breakfast and lunch and a mass offered for Sodality members. We have midday prayer and rosary with the nuns and tours of the shrine, like I mentioned before, the JP2 Eucharistic Center. So it's just a way of welcoming people and letting them experience what the shrine has to offer and what Eucharistic adoration has to offer in particular.
That's just so beautiful. And for those thinking, well, I can't come down there, that's okay. You can be a member of this Adoration Sodality right where you are. And that's
Exactly.
super simple to do. And I love the fact that when you sign up, again, you make a commitment to our Lord. And, many of us already have hours that we keep. And I will have to be honest with you that I had an hour that I had to let go because when I signed up for it, it worked perfectly, and then it no longer worked, and I kept having to get a sub. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, and the Lord told me, let your yes mean yes. So I could not change the work schedule, but what I could do was to go to adoration at a different parish at a different time. I work right across the street from another parish that I'm not a member of. And I said, hey, I can walk over here and pray my hour of adoration. And so I signed up there, and that's worked out really beautifully. And, that's something that you just pray and ask God about that. How can He make a way for you to be a part of an adoration sodality that you can commit to, or signing up at your parish to commit to that? And I think, Chris, there are great benefits when we put the word commitment and say that, okay, I am giving you this, Lord. I am promising you that I am going to give this. What are the benefits of commitment and signing up for a sodality, for adoration?
Sure. And going back to the commitment part, Jesus, the Lord always is. Sometimes He asks us to make sacrifices, and sometimes, like you just say, I can't. It's very hard to fit into my schedule. Well, He's asking us to make a sacrifice and find a place to do it. Like you did, and He'll take care of the rest. That's what He's calling us for. And for me in particular. When I started my Eucharistic adoration, tell you real quick, I used it, which is fine. It's needed to. I used it to say the Rosary and reflect on the Divine Mysteries and go right into the Divine Mercy Chaplet. And then after a while, I'm like, I'm doing these good things, but I am not opening my heart and just sitting there and listening, waiting for Jesus to talk to me. And that's the whole part, the big part of the adoration. So what I did was I made a second hour and just sat down. I said, hello, Jesus, how are you? Just talk to me. Let's have a conversation. And that absolutely turned the tables and really changed my spiritual life when I did that. So it's so important that we make time and, like you said, make a commitment. And Jesus Christ, he keeps saying he'll know who committed and who didn't. So can't hide it. Yeah,
that's a beautiful story, and I love the way you greet him. Hi, Jesus, how are you? We need to have that familiarity.
Well,
and,
I got that from Mother Angelica, actually.
That sounds like her.
Yeah, and then she I remember reading from her autobiography. Hey, Jesus, she used to ask him, say, yeah, how do you like these shoes? But I like the, do you think they look good on me, or I can go out and get another pair? So she's actually having just a down to earth conversation with her, and that really opened me. Just talk to Jesus like he's your friend. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it too. I remember once when I was in Adoration, I had a terrible, my foot was hurting so badly, and it was because of these shoes. And I took the shoes off and I apologized to our Lord. I said, I'm so sorry for being barefoot in the chapel. And he said, that's okay. I made your feet too.
Exactly. I create everything, including the feet. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the fruits, isn't it, of that kind of adoration, is how we can really become so comfortable with Jesus that he becomes every part of our life. He becomes our best friend. We may be able to say that and really mean it when we spend that kind of time with him.
And then that goes back to recognizing him present in the Holy Eucharist. That's where it starts. That's the foundation of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's just so incredibly wonderful. And Chris, I thank you for all the work that you are doing there at the Shrine of the Blessed Sacrament. I mean, it's just such a beautiful place to be. And if you haven't had a chance to be there, my friends, then you've got to go. Listening to Chris describe it, it's just really an incredible place.
Thanks so much. It is an incredible place, and I hate to use a tired cliche, but you really have to be here and see it to believe it.
Excellent. Chris McCarthy, Outreach Manager at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. Thank you so much for being on Catholic Connection. And stay with us because there is more to come. It's Catholic Connection. I'm Sherry Brownrigg in for Teresa Tamio. And just a quick note, a programming note, don't forget the world over with Raymond Arroyo tonight on EWTN Radio and TV. It is at 8 Eastern. His guests, Robert Royal and Father Gerald Murray, on the new and first apostolic exhortation by Pope Leo XIV. Looking forward to that. Also, Devin Franklin, one of the stars of the inspiring new movie Soul on Fire. It's a true story based on the life and experience of John Leary. And Teresa will be back on the show tomorrow, and she's got the inside word with Doug Keck. Greg and Julie Alexander, with their monthly marriage encounter, will also be on the show. And she'll be coming to you live from Italy, so how fun will that be? Goodness, what a great show we had today. So many things to pray for. The new peace deal between Israel and Hamas. Pray for that will continue and actually come to fruition, because it's, as Father Mitch Pacwa told us, it's a very fraught agreement that has so much history behind it that would seek to derail it. And also pray for all the different things happening. Today is the feast day of, the solemnity, rather, of Our Lady of Champion, the feast day of Saint Denis, St. Denis. Ask for their intercession. And also, what a great conversation we had with Chris McCarthy, wow, on adoration. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to sign up for that adoration sodality, because I had mentioned that I couldn't do it at my parish. I do it at the church that is right across the street from me while I'm at work, which really helps that work day, I'll tell you that. But this will put a little extra commitment behind my desire to adore our Lord. Are you in? Let's do it. Sherry Brownrigg with you. Have a blessed day.